All right, let's see here. Let's see if we can make it so you guys can see that to a degree. Sorry about the reflection. And I think that's about as good as I'm going to get it. Well, as you know, all court cases under CFR 277211, all crimes are allegedly commercial. That's rape, sodomy, murder, grand theft auto, you name it. They're all commercial, okay? So, Mr. Anonymous, who always remain anonymous, members of the IMF, have given me some insight. So what I did was I put this little ditty together with the help from some of my friends. And I said, I require each of all the following completed listing as attached IRS forms and any and every of each GSA forms posted in the body of this email and as the last PDF attached below the Federal Reserve Form 2046 and the account number of the Disputed Ownership Fund Disclosure Statement Form 8275 that relates to case number CR 20266, docket number 84806, driver's license number D08517713, and any other case number associated in the County Court of Custer County, Nebraska, as well as case number D04CR21000012, transaction ID 0013705548 in the District Court of Custer County, Nebraska. Also requiring public artifacts, standing and tax compliance production, bar card bond numbers for Joel B.J., which is the alleged judge, which is really a ministerial administrator administrating the national debt on behalf of the President of the United States, which is really the Commander-in-Chief. Martin R. Clean, which is, again, these are unregistered fictitious DBAs. None of these are registered with the Secretary of State. But this, again, is how all their documentation reads. Tammy K. Shint, an alleged administrator for the county court. And then Karen Lynn Noakes, I have her full name because, well, I did a lot of due diligence, and I found that she does have an alleged oath of office under Karen Lynn Noakes, but not under Karen L. Noakes, okay? She's a district court administrator who recently recused herself from my case for the conflict of interest and obviously making statements on a record for which there were no facts and evidence to support her conclusion. So she immediately recused herself. Good on her. Certificate of good standing for Joel B.J., Martin R. Clean, Tammy K. Shint, Karen Lynn Noakes, articles of incorporation, articles of association, application form 1023, application form 1024, form 990 series, return, FinCEN, which is the Financial Investigation Crimes Unit, 104 and 114, showing the source and destination of the creditor in whose debt you are acting in collection of, because all courts are attempting to collect a debt. They're nothing more than glorified debt collectors, ladies and gentlemen. Number 9, delegation of authority to represent the state of Nebraska and or Derek S. Gonzalez. So I need to see your warrant of attorney from the executor granting you the delegation of authority to operate outside of Washington, D.C. and to administer these estates. Assignment documents assigning the credit account to you or any agency or agent. 11, assignment documents assigning the credit account to whoever is actually named. Recipient showing paid capital transfer taxes for the case that's been generated, because everything is a taxable event, ladies and gentlemen. Every time they create those unregistered securities, and those securities pass hands from the deputy state attorney to the district attorney to the clerk of the court to the judge, Every time those securities change hands, that's a transferable tax event, ladies and gentlemen. That is currency being generated and transferring from one individual to the next individual, and they're liable for the transfer tax on the carryover basis. Okay, and we find that in Title 26, 2603, 2203, 2002, 2001, and 2032 AE 11 under Title 26. Anybody in constructive possession of decedent or cedent estate property is liable for the taxes on the carryover evaluation and basis. All right. Recipient showing paid capital transfer tax. Number 13, IRS determination letter ruling on status. The IRS has to give them a certificate of status, right, for doing business. The IRS has to be informed of this. Everybody that wants to abolish the IRS needs to pull their head out of their bum and realize the IRS is our enforcement arm, ladies and gentlemen. Number 14, doing business as registration certificate. So I need their DBA certificate issued by the Secretary of State so they can do business in the names that they're using, like Joel BJ. Joel BJ is an unregistered fictitious business name, and they're using those unregistered fictitious business names in an egregious attempt to extort people while unjustly enriching themselves at the same time for victimless crimes. Are you paying attention to what the hell I'm telling you? Because I'm laying it out for you. Your Foreign Agent Registration Act certificate, which is the same thing as the Foreign Registration Act of 1938, amended in 1939, that is still in play, ladies and gentlemen. Number 16, license to do business in the state of California. I corrected that. It actually says the state of Nebraska now. Number 17, certificate of registration of foreign corporation operating in Nebraska. Nebraska being the de jure Nebraska, not state of Nebraska, which is a completely separate and different entity. 18, assignment documents assigning the credit account to you or any other agent in agency or agency. 19, license to solicit. Number 20, bylaws. 21, equivalent to the FS 28.24 transmittal of funds to Department of Revenue, any forms that pertain to that. Number 22, tax exempt contribution forms, which you all know what I'm going to do. We're going to do the 13909, the 4506A, the 211 form, and the 13909. Okay, the 4506A will come back conclusively saying that they are not a government agency that is tax exempt, ladies and gentlemen. So they all allege to be government, and if you just sit there idly by and accept that fact, then nobody's ever the wiser. But you got to notify the IRS and let them know what the hell's going on, right? Number 23, equivalent to the clerk of the court's revenue remittance system, CCRRS of Florida. So I'm looking for the forms. Every state should have something similar to this, and so I'm just referencing it. Number 24, equivalent to the truth in taxation certificate of compliance for all counties in Florida. So there's forms out there that are taxation certificates of compliance, and it's for all counties in Florida. I presume and assume that this also applies in all 50 state of confusions that are out there. Then I also asked for the standard form 24, 25, 25A. These are the SF forms. And any and all warehouse bonds, signature bonds, bid bonds, performance bonds, bail bonds, payment bonds, whether state or federal. Then also the number 26 is standard for standard forms 90 and 91, and any omitted item above must have an explanation for non-production. The attached forms are the forms to which the tax ID numbers for each transferee and fiduciary executor with actual or constructive possession of decedent property on the W-9s shall be applied and submitted to the IRS so that we all may be in voluntary compliance with the Internal Revenue Code of the United States, which I am sure we all wish to be. Thank you for your performance in advance. Kindest regards, Derek. Now, down below this, you'll see all the forms, right? I sent this to all of them because, well, we want to let them know that we know these forms exist. They're out there, and they're supposed to have these in production. They're supposed to already be done. So who did we send all this to? All right. Corey Steele at Nebraska.gov is actually the state court administrator. Okay. Then we took it above and beyond Corey Steele. We went to Amy Prenda, who deals in the Supreme Court. And then we just turned around and sent it to Mike Havokin, who is the Supreme Court Justice for the state of Nebraska, who operates all the lower courts through a DUNS number that is directly tied to DHHS, which means yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, you understand this correctly. Mike Havokin is in fact the CEO of all the courts, utilizing the same DUNS number to fleece and extort people for victimless crimes in an egregious attempt to unjustly enrich themselves and bolster the public trust that they're administering. So we just sent that off to the Supreme Court as well. But also we sent it off to Eric Dunning at Nebraska.gov. We sent it off to the Secretary of State of Nebraska. We also sent it to the AGO Info Help at Nebraska. We sent it to Pete Ricketts, Governor Pete Ricketts' office. We sent it to the OIG of the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission. We also sent it off to the FTC, the Secretary of the Federal Trade Commission. We sent it off to the Treasury Direct and physicaltreasury.gov. And so today we got a few responses, and I think it's really funny because we also sent it to the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency out of Nebraska. Why are we doing all this, ladies and gentlemen? Because everything they're doing is monetized. It's all monetized, all right? So this is what we do just to light a fire under all their asses and let them know we're not going to be blind and willfully ignorant anymore. We're going to stand up. We're going to hold your feet to the fire. You brought a case against the entity known as Derek S. Gonzalez, which I actually own the DBA for, so they're trespassing against the DBA. Haven't informed them of that yet, but we'll get there in a little bit. But for now, if there's a debt due and owing, under the Title 15, subsection 1692, I need to know who the original creditor is. I need to know their address. You're saying there's a debt due and owing. Well, in order for a debt to be due and owing, I need a true bill due and owing, which means I need the original creditor to say who, what, where, when, how, and why I owe a debt. You can't just say the statutes, codes, city ordinances, rules, and regulations apply to I as a man and I am liable for it at this point without putting a little bit of proof in your claim. So, with that said, I just wanted to keep you up to date on what I'm doing. As you know, I don't deal with the low rent paid agents. We go right to the heart and the head of the issue and light a fire under their bums. Now, Corey Steele responded and said he doesn't have anything. Amy Prenda recommended that I go to Corey Steele, the state court administrator, because he would have some of the documents I'm looking for. The state insurance commissioner wrote me back today stating that he has no knowledge of any of the forms that we're speaking of. So here we are on this hunt for all of their documentation that they should have in place for rightfully charging up this estate, the Sesta KV Trust, this constructive trust for which they're seeking to usurp the credits on account that they generated, right? Now, there's a strong possibility that none of these documents exist yet because, well, until sentencing occurs, they really don't monetize anything. So we've got this, I've got this epiphany that what actually happens during the creation of a court case is that the judge in his private chambers and in his vault actually holds the securities, the performance bond, the bid bond, the payment bond, the warehouse bond, until sentencing has been commenced. Then they release it. But here's the other thing. My only duty is to make sure that the United States and the U.S. Treasury is not being cheated. So I had to assess the taxes, and because they won't bring a full audit and accounting forward so I can assess the tax evaluation that needs to be audited, I just went ahead and made it for $9,999,999.00. Zero credits on account. So I send that off in a 1099-A in good faith, with good conscience, and for good reason, because I have reason to believe these imposters in office are trying to cheat the United States Treasury, which would raise the national debt, which would cause burdens upon my offspring. And I can't stand for that. So again, just wanted to keep you in the loop and up to date on what I'm doing. It's a lot of fun all the way to the top. Damn right. Also, none of them have Article 6 oaths. Here's something I want to give you, a little ditty, a little nugget for you to marinate in your mind. If none of them have the Article 6 oath, none of them have the Title 4 101 oath, but they all operate under Title 5 3331 for-profit oath, then none of them have qualified immunity. Here's another way of disqualifying the alleged judge, which is really just a ministerial administrator administrating on the behalf of the commander-in-chief. All their decisions through the courts come through for and on behalf of the commander-in-chief after Abe Lincoln, when everything was moved over underneath the executive branch. That's why all these EOs have so much force. And the EOs, what I'm talking about is executive orders. Okay, that's why they can't impeach the commander-in-chief. He's the highest ranking official of the military. You can't impeach his ass. It just doesn't happen. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're seeing on the news, the propaganda, the media is all just bull honky. It's just a soap opera to keep you distracted. None of that crap is real. I don't believe it for a second. But what we do know is everything is about administering the national debt and the bankruptcy. James Traficant said it best on the floor. I believe he was on the House floor when he said it. And they quickly trumped up charges against him for DUI and threw him in prison over the deal. And then while he was in prison, they convened and had meetings and private ex parte communication in order to remove him because he let the cat out of the bag. He let the cat out of the bag about the American people being utilized as a source of credit for the largest bankruptcy the world has ever seen. And when he told the truth, they removed him. So, with that said, I just wanted to keep you up to date on what I'm doing. We'll get back to the exclusive jurisdiction of equity here a little bit. I'm going to let my phone charge up, but I thought it was very funny getting word from the state insurance commissioner saying, oh, I have no idea about this case. I have no idea about any of these forms. I have no idea what's going on. Shouldn't the Secretary of State been informed when a suit is being brought forward? I mean, somewhere I read there that they have to notify the Secretary of State that a suit's being brought forward. So we also notified the Attorney General of Nebraska. Now, so far, the Nebraska alleged governor, alleged Attorney General, alleged Secretary of State have not responded. And when I asked for their direct emails so that they would have no plausible deniability about receiving such an email, they said, oh, sir, that's just not how it works. So you mean to tell me the American people have these agents and agency that purportedly work for them, yet we don't have direct access to them to express our grievances? Well, sir, you know, we go through an email process, and that email process goes through a couple different channels before it actually gets submitted to the Attorney General. And so I said, oh, so you got a bunch of people making legal determinations that aren't legally qualified to make any legal determinations, probably don't have bar cards, aren't registered as foreign agents, that operate under a state sigil, and yet my fate is left to their discretion. And then the Attorney General, of course, has plausible deniability because, well, you can't email him directly. What kind of bullocks is that, ladies and gentlemen? So with that said, keep up the good fight and know that I'm safe and sound. And I just wanted to keep you up to date on what I'm doing. Go back and review this video for the information that's in it, and go ahead and look up those forms that we're talking about. The Federal Reserve form is very interesting because everything is being administered on behalf of the national debt, the national bankruptcy, okay? So with that said, I'll yield the floor. Thanks for joining me, and we'll talk to you soon.